like to call the meeting to order of the Lansing Charter Commission for its April 29th, 2025 meeting. I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Adam Simon.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Bauer. Commissioner Boyd. Commissioner Dowd. Commissioner Jeffries.
Here.
Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Kawhi. Commissioner Washington. There are 8 members present, a quorum. And Commissioner Bauer is absent.
Thank you. I would just ask that everyone keep Joan and her family in your thoughts and prayers as her mother passed away, and that's why she's not here tonight. And please feel free to reach out to her and express your condolences. Okay, a motion be in order to adopt the agenda. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. The first is our April 15th, 2025 meeting. Motion be in order to approve those minutes. Been moved and supported. Are there any additions, corrections, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the minutes are approved. And then for our April 22nd, 2025 meeting, we have those minutes. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion and there's support. Any changes, additions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, they pass unanimously, or are approved unanimously. Now's the time for public comment.
I believe we have no public comment.
No public comment, okay.
People have to sign in at least a half an hour before the scheduled starting time of the meeting. But
Okay. Yep. Officers' reports under chair. I have no report. Madam Vice Chair.
No report.
Mr. Clerk.
you have a budget update that's been handed out. We've spent $215,000 roughly, and have roughly $284,000 remaining in the commission's budget. And there are written comments. I also, Nick Saba has been helping us with our meetings. He's been an intern in our office, and tonight is his last meeting. So thank you, Nick,
Hey, Nick.
for your
Thank you.
You go to MSU, right? Yeah.
It's the school.
I wasn't expecting the quiz.
Okay. Moving on to business, under old business, Article 5. We have, I'm sorry, Commissioner Boyd. Sure.
The clerk just went through our expense report, and I'm kind of curious. Once we complete our work and the governor and the AG have signed off, then this will go before the voters. And I'm curious to know, what will happen then? Can our money be spent to inform voters of what we've proposed? Or will that be up to a third party? I guess I'm just kind of curious. Thank you.
Yeah, there's been some discussions on that, and I think there's some limitations on what we can and cannot do. We can't advocate for it. We can educate. And so there's a fine line that you can't cross in terms of use of public funds on an election. And so that's something that as we get closer to that point that we can discuss and figure out what we're going to do. Yes, Commissioner Washington.
I think you also have to be cognizant of the fact that if the public does not vote it in, we may have to reconvene, so you don't want to spend that money. You know?
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going until 2026, November. So, okay, so we have several communications from our attorney regarding Article 5, and that is under old business. I guess we'll start out by doing that review. Do you want to start with the boards and commissions language that you have, please?
Yeah, so the first correspondence is a memo. It's page 22 of your packet is where it begins. This is follow-up on Some additional language to continue the discussion that the board has been having about appointment of board members. So at the last meeting, the commission had asked for some language about making sure that the individuals that put their names in to be an applicant to be on a board, that the name is public, but then also that the council has access to application information, and then some information regarding the reappointment process, that it's not necessarily just a automatic thing, but that individuals have to essentially file new paperwork. So as you see at the bottom of the page, the proposed new language, which for your consideration of what I think where you guys were headed, and please let me know if you want additional changes, but it would simply be to add to the end of the current point 5, which is 5-103.5, just add that the names of individuals seeking membership on city boards shall be public. The next sentence, the council shall have access to the application and eligibility information of all individuals seeking membership on city boards. While you all had discussed application information, I kind of added eligibility information to the extent that you may need that, because if someone puts in and they're not a resident, or they're not a resident of the ward they're seeking, or whatever, that's obviously information that the council would need to assist with its obligation in providing its consent. There would be additionally some additional language at the beginning on page 23 for reappointment of individuals seeking reappointment to a board shall submit a new application. Consideration for reappointment may include the individual's attendance, years of service, and the needs of the board. So I provided a little bit of kind of what you all were talking about, a little bit of guidance, but tried to stay out of the tried to shy away from getting really detailed about kind of what the process would be. Currently, I kind of have this language sort of sitting out there, so you could either add that right to the end of any changes you make to point 5, or you could assign this sort of reappointment process a new number within 5-105. So you could either add that on to have a really kind of big chunk as to 5-103.5, or you could just make a new .12 section within that chapter. I also, just while we're talking, I did leave the language in on term limits that kind of spurred this conversation last week, just here as additional talking point. It didn't sound like, I don't know that you all were interested in it, but I left it in there because that was kind of what spurred the discussion on this newer language that is drafted for your review today.
Commissioner Boyd.
I have a quick question. What does the charter say now about reappointment? Does it say anything?
It doesn't say anything.
No.
Okay.
Oops.
Very good, thank you.
Other good. Commissioner Dow.
Thank you. I like the way you worded this, and I appreciate it. I think this is what we were all getting at last week when we talked about not doing term limits, but having some sort of weight on a reappointment process. My question or suggestion, though, is this is happening right now under the current president and the mayor. It took some work, but it's happening. This gives a little grit to make sure that it continues on in the future. I would suggest, though, that rather than the word may, it should be shall. Consideration for appointment shall include the individual's attendance, years of service, and needs of the board. I think what that allows a board to do is do an evaluation of their current members. A good board should look and say, actually, we need a strength in somebody that knows this skill set to serve this. And so if they have identified that and say, yes, we recommend this person for another term because of the skill set that they bring to the board, that would be a good consideration. The council could say, oh, this person's been there for 10 years, we're not reaffirming, but the board or commission may have a really good reason why that should be. So I think that shall versus may.
But if we go to the, I'm sorry, you didn't call on me.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. It's that kind of day. I think, as we stated earlier, the city council is really going to have to play their role in this, in reappointments as well. If they approve them for these appointments, then they should approve them for reappointments as well, with the consideration of the current board. So, I like this.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting
Yeah.
may should be shall. So it kind of requires them to have that knowledge before making the decision.
Commissioner Kui.
I like the language. I love your suggestion, besides that change. And I think we should just go ahead and add it at the end of 103 instead of making the new numbers and all that stuff. Because it kind of just flows into what we were talking about. I mean, 105, I'm sorry.
Right. Okay,
Point,
so
point.
why don't we do this in pieces then? So under the first proposed change about on the first page of the memo, where it's added, the names of individuals seeking membership on city boards shall be public. The council shall have access to the application and eligibility information of all individuals seeking membership on city boards. Just one question about that. If we look at the ethics board, that's a board that allows council members to make appointments. So should the mayor have access? I mean, there's not an advice and consent role, but should that information, in terms of transparency and what we're trying to do, should that include the mayor in there as well as council?
Do you mean for the
Last sentence.
council shall have access, so it's, you're suggesting the council and mayor because of the ethics
Yeah.
board?
I
mean,
if I could, and I'd ask this to the vice chair, what kind of process do you go through in terms, do you know that the
Well, I was
the
just really good
appointments-
friends with Chris Swope, but no, joking. I was appointed by Third Ward representative at the time, and it was an application process, and then I was confirmed by the city council. So,
Was it the same application process that anybody goes through for an
right,
appointment?
exactly. So
Okay.
I would assume that even though they appointed me, my ward person appointed me, the remainder of the council had to say yes, and so did the mayor.
Okay,
So-
but the process is the same?
It's exactly the same.
Yeah, so
Unless, Chris, you think differently.
The one thing that I think is a little bit different is historically, the ward appointments that are suggested by the ward member have not been interviewed by any committee of the city council.
Oh, we were
Where-
not interviewed.
Whereas mayoral appointees are typically interviewed. So,
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing in the charter that requires that they be interviewed. It's just the history of the process, so just trying to fill in a little bit of detail there. So you can make a
Well, I
fully
would like the
informed decision.
applications to be interviewed. I would like the applicants to be interviewed.
So there's no language in the charter about the interview process, right? I can't recall.
I don't recall there anything
Yeah.
specific about an interview
Yeah.
in anywhere of the appointment
Well,
provisions.
I think the process should be consistent
Yeah.
between the two. All right. Okay. What we could do is, if we want to look at that issue, why don't we come back with language next week that combines, and this is from Commissioner Kui's request, that combines both of those first two recommendations that you're making with may being deleted and shall being inserted. Okay, and that would take care of.
Okay, yeah, and then just in terms of looking at interview language, it sounds like you want me to have interview referenced in here somewhere?
Yes,
And that would be for all of the boards?
all of the boards.
Okay.
All of the appointees.
And just to be clear, that typically the council has not interviewed reappointments
Right, I think that.
on a consistent basis.
Right, that process should be consistent with the initial appointment and the reappointment, the interview process. Commissioner Lopez.
Yep. Just the one thing that I would like to see is that we don't have, sections of this chapter, or this point 102, that have different things in different parts of the charter. If we could kind of put them together for the most part, not to have to look through pages like right here in 105.5, and then we have 5103.5. So just so that make sure that when we do the charter, that it stays kind of covers things in its own chapter. Sometimes you have to go, well, chapter 3 says this, chapter 5 says this, so there's discussion. So sometimes I'd like to see that the charter would have things in order, in sections that are not conflicting, or one allows, the other one doesn't, or there's a question about it. I mean, it's difficult, but sometimes, that's where things start to get into discussions that go nowhere, But as far as this goes, this is giving council at least some ability to look at what's being proposed, and if they have any concerns, to voice them at the point in time that it's the appropriate time. And so I like that this charter will give the council that ability to do so. And, we can talk more about it, but just so that it wouldn't be so complicated.
Are you talking just as we review these things, making sure that there's a copy of, like, all the other revisions that have been done so far, or?
No, well, yeah, well, maybe yes, because what happens is that if we're talking whatever the issue is, and the charter permits it in one chapter, but has some issues in the next chapter, I think we should, at the end, kind of look at where those conflicts are and kind of put them together, or at least on this chapter, say, see chapter 3, 102, whatever, because, so that we can make sense of it and not be so complicated that people have to go through different sections of the charter to decide, what action to take. That's all
think-
that I'm saying.
and I
Make
think
it
we
less
can do that.
complicated.
Okay.
We
yeah.
can do that at the end when we clean up. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so on 5-103, I think I got marching orders on that. So then, next on this memo, toward the bottom of page 23 is 5-105.10 board minutes. So this is a revision to some earlier language about making sure there's language that ensures that that boards are being timely in submitting their minutes. And so, consistent with the discussion last week, I got specific with the Open Meetings Act language. So the new proposed language is, and I actually want to recommend, I have a typo in here that I'd like to change. So it's proposed meeting minutes shall be available for public inspection within 8 business days after the meeting, period. Approved minutes, and this says must, but that really should be shall. Approved minutes shall be available within 5 business days after approval. And then striking the last sentence. Sorry? The Open Meetings Act. So the Open Meetings Act requires that draft meeting minutes be publicly available for public inspection within 8 business days following the meeting. And then once the meeting minutes are approved, they're required to be available for public inspection within 5 business days. So if you recall last week, the original language I provided was something like, I don't know, reasonably timely, or some generalized lawyer language that wasn't specific. and you all wanted me to be more specific on that. So I had recommended using the Open Meetings Act timeframe.
Go ahead.
Can I just follow up and ask, so you mentioned in your verbal response that draft minutes are due in 8 days, but draft is not included in this language. Is it, or did I miss it?
Proposed meeting minutes.
Proposed. Can we say draft? I'm just
I think
asking.
we can. I can, I'm going to have to double check.
Say?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head what word the Open Meetings Act uses on it.
I've never heard of proposed meeting minutes.
That requires that proposed meeting minutes. That's what you said. Well,
That's what I wrote. What I can't remember is whether,
no, I'm saying it's underneath what you proposed. but
oh, okay.
If somebody's quoting the Open
Well,
Meetings Act.
go ahead and check. Let's-
Yeah.
Let's check. Commissioner Washington?
I just wanted to ask on a process, the draft minute, and I agree it should be draft, but the draft meeting minutes shall be available for public inspection 8 business days, and then they're approved. What is it the next meeting of the board or committee approves them, and that Is that what that is, or is Chris approving them, or is the council
No.
approving them?
The board has to approve.
Okay,
And it would be, I think, their next business meeting, they should be approved there.
correct.
But the problem is, some of them meet, regularly every 2 weeks, every month, some meet every 3 months. So there could be a long span. That's why I think the first 8
draft.
business days, at least there'll be the draft minutes available.
Okay, thank you. It does?
Oh, okay, it was proposed?
Yep.
You're quicker in your Google search.
I have OMA bookmarked. But I've seen instructions from the Attorney General's office, and I think they kind of use the terms interchangeably. So, but.
Thanks for clearing that up. So, all right. Any other questions or comments on the proposed
Just-
language? Not
Just
draft, but proposed.
are draft minutes open to the public? Our proposed minutes after every meeting?
Yes.
Okay, super.
Commissioner Dowd.
I move we adopt the language with the amendment of shall instead of must.
Okay. There's been a motion to approve. Is there
Second.
support? There's moved and supported with the word shall replacing must. Are there any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes unanimously.
So that's it on that memo. So the next memo is starting on page 25 of your packet. It's about the Board of Ethics. And some of the discussion here, there were sort of 2 points. First of all, there was a request that throughout the chapter on the Board of Ethics, it was referred to sort of generally as the board, and that there had been recommendation that you include of ethics, just to be clear that throughout that it's the Board of Ethics we're talking about. So I did go through and make that change throughout the section. You'll notice that. Also, it's more of a housekeeping at this point, but under 502.1, just correcting that for the selection, it would be 5 members are appointed by City Council, 1 for each of the, proposed 5 wards, and then 3 appointed by the mayor. And then in terms of duties and enforcement, I did not develop any additional language on this, but if you look at pages 27 through 29, we did review not only the charter provision section, but the City of Lansing ordinance on ethics, and then compared it to a few other boards of ethics of other cities and also the state that have been discussed. We found that the powers and duties that the Lansing Board of Ethics has is very much in line with what other boards of ethics have, and tends to be on the sort of having greater power than some of the other boards of ethics have in their realm. These are advisory boards, so they often have provisions in them that say that you cannot overturn a existing decision that had already been made. A couple, I guess, pieces of authority or additional abilities that other boards of ethics had that City of Lansing didn't necessarily have was one, there was one Board of Ethics that is sort of authorized to issue essentially a resolution that admonishes the person if they have a finding that the ethics ordinance was violated. In terms of the State Board of Ethics, if they do find that there was, when they investigate and they have recommendations, there is language in there that says that when a classified or unclassified employee is concerned, whoever sort of is in charge of that individual shall take appropriate action consistent with either the civil rules or whatever rules are in place. But that's really as far as the Board of Ethics ever gets in terms of taking action against an individual. And obviously, when we're talking about particular employees, you have a whole lot of labor law issues that are involved with that. But generally speaking, when we're talking about the City of Lansing, your Board of Ethics has a pretty robust, comparatively speaking, authority. Those were the other few additional things that you don't have. I will note, violations of your ethics ordinance are to be punishable to the maximum extent permitted by law, and you may also have forfeiture of office. And the violations of the ethics ordinance is considered a misdemeanor. So that's contained in the ordinance as well, not in the charter provision.
Going to the first part of the section, or of this chapter, on 5-502, we did not approve .1 or .2. And I think at the beginning, Commissioner Dowd?
Before we make any motions on that, I just want to, and you did a really great job of going through and putting Board of Ethics, but after looking at this at the last meeting, that's really not consistent with other languages in the other board sections. So the Board of Police, the Board of Fire, the Board of Water and Light say hereafter referred to as board. This one doesn't, and then the planning board does not either, but also refers to itself as board. So we made this one be its own consistent, but it is not consistent with the rest of the language for boards. I would suggest, although you've done a lot of work and I appreciate it, that the language be the same as the police, fire, board, water, and light, and you just simply say here and after identified as board. And then when it says board in there, it states it.
But there is a difference, I'm sorry, I'm just talking tonight. There's a difference between boards and commissions, though. And this board is very different, just like the Board of Water and Light is different.
Yeah.
But it's called the Board of Ethics on the charter. So it could
Right,
just.
Board of Ethics, and then the police commission is the
It's
police.
Board of Water and Light.
Board of Ethics.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the Board of Police Commissioners, is it? But I thought it's just police commissioners.
It is Board of Police
Does-
Commissioners. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're all the boards of, and so we went through and changed this one. Now it's not consistent with the rest of the language, so.
Well, and to your point, if you look at the Board of Water and Light section, it says the Board of Water and Light, hereafter
Hereafter,
known
yep.
as the board.
And I think that would solve our problem in here, and we just do the same thing for the ethics and the planning board, and that covers all, because planning board has a few spots where it just lists board as well, and it doesn't say the planning board.
Mr. Chairman, aren't we changing planning board to planning commission? Aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
So it's no longer the planning board.
yeah. Yes. Other questions? Okay, if we can go back to 5-502, points 1 and point 2, as was pointed out under the new split, it's looking as an amendment. And do you want to bring these amendments forward, Kristen, or do you want to take them tonight, or in terms of the change in the numbers of 5 members shall be appointed by council, 3 by the mayor? Or do you want to do that tonight, or what's your preference?
I mean, that's up to you. I mean, if you're able to agree on either, yes, we like, these proposed changes, or no, we don't, then that kind of puts that to bed while we talk about other issues that you may have on this chapter.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee? Okay. So if there could be, someone could please make the motion to amend point 1 to delete 4 members shall be appointed by the city council to 5 members shall be appointed by the city council.
Support it.
Okay. 5 and 3? 5 and 3? Commissioner Washington.
This is the further discussion area, right?
Pardon me?
This is where you're going to ask for further discussion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't be supporting it. I will not agree to lessening representation with council, but keeping representation on boards the same. I frankly don't agree with lessening representation on council, and I won't agree with upping or keeping this the same, so I will be no.
Commissioner Boyd.
I have a point of clarification. Did we say that, again, I can't remember, did we say that boards and commissions would have 8 members instead of 7?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other discussion? This has been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. As to the remainder of the section, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 2, is this necessary? This is talking about the initial Board of Ethics, although at the last sentence, that might be germane. What's your thought on that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
On point 2, where it talks about the initial appointment to the Board of Ethics, I think that's already been done. Is this language, should this be deleted? I think maybe the last sentence of that. Yes. I think that's probably still pertinent, but I think the remainder of the language, because all of the appointments have been made, they have specific terms now. They're not,
I think you still, I think you could remove this here, but we should, and this will probably come up with Article 9. We should clarify that people that have already been appointed fill out the rest of their terms, particularly because you now, if this gets approved, have a 5th ward, and there's like, appointments are kind of done in a different way.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So what do you want to do with this, then? Do you want to think about it and come back with?
Sure.
Okay. No. Yeah, and I think that issue would be probably across the board with all of our boards. So, all right,
Well,
boards.
and
Stand
just,
by, sir.
So that's 9-101, where it refers to what you said.
I'm sorry?
On Chapter 1 of Article 9,
Yeah, we're gonna,
Yeah.
I think that's all gonna be,
because that
that-
states that
yeah.
they shall continue serving
yeah, that will
on
get
the
reworked.
effective date.
And Vice Chair?
yeah, it's just for clarity.
Unless you wanna change
What
it.
Commissioner Dow said about the type of boards. The Board of Water and Light is an administrative board with certain responsibilities. Review boards include the Board of Ethics as well as the Planning Board or Commission, the Board of Review, and the Board of Zoning and Appeals. And then the other are advisory boards, and those are just everything else. So that, I think that's the distinction between all of them. That's why they're called the certain way. That's how it reads right now. There's 3 types, and they have different responsibilities.
Well, I understood his point as
Yeah.
being more of a drafting point.
Right.
Of once you get to point 6, so basically referring to the Board of Ethics one time within its subchapter, and then it's just the board in the rest of that section.
That's fine.
So when we get to Planning Commission, it would be changing board to commission, that, stay tuned, that's another memo in here, but referring to commission one time instead of Planning Commission throughout that section. It's really just saving words. That, I think that was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I understood that.
Yep. Okay, moving on down to 5-503. We have not approved any of the duties, point 1 through point 7. We did approve point 8, which I'm not sure what that was all about. But anyway, so taking a look at point 5-503.1. Take a look at that. Is there a motion to approve or support?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, passes. Point 2,
So moved.
it's been moved. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 3,
Second.
are there any questions or comments on this section? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 4. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there any, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 5, is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 6,
So moved.
it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 7,
There is an ethics manual, if I may.
Go ahead.
There is an ethics manual. I think that within 1 year from the effective date is kind of blown out the window, but it actually just got a review recently and is being newly published. So I could see removing the within 1 year of the effective date portion.
so the motion would be to delete within 1 year from the effective date of this section, and then begin the sentence, the city council shall provide an ethics manual for use for all city officers and employees. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there support?
Second.
It's been moved and support. Go ahead, Commissioner Washington.
It doesn't say city council, it says the city.
What, each city officer?
Okay, but I thought you guys were trying to say that the city council shall provide.
Brian did say council.
Okay.
Oh, did I say council?
Yes,
Oh, my mistake.
okay, and as long as that's,
Oh, I did not mean that. All right.
Because you distributed that, correct?
Pardon me? Yeah, the Board of Ethics,
Well,
it leads in preparing it, yes, and the Human Resources Department primarily distributes it.
okay, and has past practice been that it says each city officer and employee shall acknowledge receipt of said manual?
Yes.
Are you sure they read it?
I'm sure they acknowledge receipt of it.
Okay, on the section as amended, or as redrafted, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. And I believe we've already approved point 8. And I think that finishes up the rest of that chapter. And then, I think you have something on the planning board? Or commission, or board? Let's go.
All right, this memo starts on page 30. So it is doing two things. So first, well, three things, I suppose. Changing board to commission, which is consistent with how they're referred to in state law. And kind of consistent with what I did with the Board of Ethics, I added, or actually, did I add planning or I think I just changed board to commission. Whether it said planning already is kind of how it was in there. So that's one thing that this draft does. The second is it conforms how the ex officio members of the council that serves on the commission are selected, not on January 1 of each year as stated in the charter, but that they are selected in the manner set forth in 3-102.6, which is the provision that provides how members are selected for the commission's subcommittees, which is my understanding based on your discussion, that's when these positions are selected. Then there was another request to look at in section 5-602.4 at the very bottom that says that the board shall, it currently says develop and maintain a master plan, and the question was, well, do they really do that? In review of the state law language about what a planning commission is required to do, under state law, a planning commission is required to make and approve the master plan. So even as is, typical that staff may do a lot of the sort of legwork, it is the statutory requirement that the commission is the one that makes and approves. So we just change that to track what state law currently says. Although develop and maintain, I mean, it's not, I would say it's not inconsistent with current state law. So you could certainly keep it and that would be all right. But the proposal is to just track statutory language.
Okay, looking at 5-601, we've already approved point 1. We have not approved point 2 or point 3. So on point 2, is there a motion based on the proposal that was presented to us in the memo?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there support? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. And then in point 3, the language as proposed within the memo, is there support for that language? Commissioner Boyd.
And I don't know if this is the appropriate time to talk about this, but 601.3 talks about city council people being ex officio members of the planning commission. I'm not quite sure why. They don't vote. Why do they have to be there? Just asking a question.
Because it was in the charter.
Because it's in the charter, but maybe it shouldn't be in the charter.
I don't know, where did it come from? Does anybody know? Commissioner Washington.
I'm not sure where it came from, but you also have people that are appointed to other areas in the city as ex officio, and they don't vote. It's to, I think, mostly to kind of be, have them bring back the information to the rest of council and to know what's going on in the planning commission, because they have to, particularly planning commission, they're going to have to vote on all of the developments and all of the zoning and all of the, I think it's really critical that they have 2 members that are appointed to that as ex officio, just like I believe they should be at LAFA and downtown Lansing Inc. and all the rest of them, that they have that position.
Madam Vice Chair.
I think it's a good way of checks and balances too, especially like she said, Commissioner Washington said, the council has to vote on these things and you need to know what our boards are doing in critical areas like this. So
You don't think it
those are
allows for undue influence
I don't think so, but
since they're non-voting members?
well,
I'm asking.
I know Commissioner Boyd, you have a problem with mandating that people come to the meetings. So, and that's a good thing. I'm not opposed to
I do,
that,
I
but
do.
I just noticed that pattern. But yeah, yeah, I think it's very important for them to be there because they're committee assignments, basically.
Well, it was, the impression I had when I was on council is that it's particularly useful when you talk about the capital improvement plan and getting that information back to council. It's very comprehensive, and to be able to bring the information back, and it was different with different presidents in terms of when they wanted to get information and what it was. But that's what I recall was an important piece of it, was just the exchange of information.
That's fine. I guess I'm just wondering, does it happen? You all have been on, many of you have been on city council, so maybe you can tell me. Do the council people go to these meetings, and do they bring back information to the city council or not? Thank you.
Right.
Most of them do,
Yeah.
yeah,
I always did
yeah.
on
I
everything I
think-
was appointed to. And you do, you have some lousy, lazy council people, but that's just the nature of the beast, but for the most part.
And they were not at-large council members either. so.
Some of them were.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky when an elected official sits on a board, because at times folks may be inhibited in saying things that they would otherwise say or opine. So I know it's kind of a tricky situation. Now, probably this gives the president the ability to name people that would bring back the information, but it's always going to be a conflict in different ways. And it really comes down to the person who's appointed from the council to those commissions. I don't know that you can legislate what they can or can't do, but certainly I have experienced it in other boards where an elected member goes to a committee or other board. There's always that situation that people may not say what they need to say because there's an elected official.
Okay, Commissioner Washington.
I'm sorry, I just can't let that go. If they're that intimidated, maybe they shouldn't be on the commission.
You're right, and maybe that's why they need to be
Council people
well-
are not celebrities. They are servants of the people. Same with, the mayor has somebody from his staff appointed to everything. So if they're going to be that intimidated, perhaps they shouldn't be on the board.
No, I agree. And that's why the council has, on this charter, oversight, ability to checks and balances. But whether we like it or not, it does happen.
Okay, back on point 3, the language that's being proposed within the memo, is there support for that? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. And then in 5-602, we've approved point 1 and 2. We've not approved point 3 or 4. So as the proposed language within the memo for point 3, is there support or motion to approve?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. And then finally, point 4.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Passes. Okay. So moving on to a new article, Article 6. Before we get into the discussion on this, I just wanted to remind the commissioners that we did invite many of the representatives from our local unions here within the city to come down here tonight, and if they had any concerns, to be able to present them. And we had no takers, so I just wanted to let you know that we did reach out. And that said, there are still, I think, some conversations that are that may happen or may occur at the committee meeting in the future. But as of this point, we extended the offer, and it is what it is. So why don't we move on to Article 6? Memo?
So beginning on page 34 of your packet, this is not specific to any section of Article 6 on city employees. It's more stuff I want you to know as you're going through the language to think about moving forward. Generally, and it's stuff that often comes up when you're talking about charter provisions which impact employees. So just a few bullet points, and some of this has come up before. So one thing that's already come up is that the Home Rule Cities Act does prohibit a charter from setting a minimum staffing requirement for city employees. So to the extent that sounds like a good idea, there is a limitation. A lot of times, people, when this kind of topic comes up, will discuss, well, should we mandate that city employees have to live within the city? There is a state law that specifically governs this, and that generally speaking, you cannot require that. There are some exceptions about allowing for sort of within a geographical range, but even that has to play into my other bigger bullet points, which is when you have a city that is governed by collective bargaining agreements, the collective bargaining agreements are going to control. And any language that you put into a charter, if and when it's ratified by the voters, there still may be an obligation to collectively bargain about any changes that have been made in a charter to the extent that it touches on a mandatory subject of collective bargaining, which there's a whole lot of case law about what that means, but generally it's terms and conditions of employment, wage and wages, kind of how you're hired and fired, things like that. So if it touches on a mandatory subject of collective bargaining, the fact that it's in a charter doesn't, that kind of doesn't matter. You still have to go through those obligations under labor law. So just keep that in mind moving forward.
Thank you. We have Article 6 here. If we can start going through that. If we have questions, we can certainly circle back next week to get answers to those questions. So Article 6, under Chapter 1 entitled Merit System, 6-101, point 1. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2. Is a motion, and support? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. 6-102.1. Is there a motion to approve or support? And is there support? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Point 2. Is there a motion to adopt? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 3. I'm sorry, go ahead. It's been moved. Is there support?
Support?
I would just ask, does it make any sense where it reads, as than those stated in point 1? Should that read as those stated in section 6-102.1? I mean, is that confusing, or how would you draft that?
I think typically some of the other provisions have written it how you have stated, so, it would be 6-102, or, 6-102.1.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, Chris? Go ahead.
Somewhat unrelated, but this section. It says the Office of Personnel, and while we've changed the title of the director, the title of the department is the Human Resources Department.
Oh, I thought we did that. Okay. All right, so looking at point 3, it's been moved and supported. I think what we need is some motion to amend point 3 to delete point 1 in the first sentence and insert section 6-102.1. Let me back up. So stated in section -6-102.1, and then point 1 of the section, I think that should all be deleted, and then section 6-102.1 should be inserted. Does that make sense?
No, doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah. So it will read, other than those stated in 6-102.1 shall be processed through. So is that a friendly amendment? Is this support? Is that friendly? Okay, that's done. And then moving through that sentence where it comes up to the Office of Personnel, we would take that out and insert the Human Resource Department. Is that also friendly? Is it friendly?
Support.
Friendly? Okay. So on the section as amended, it's been moved and supported. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing. Commissioner.
Could you once again read how it's going, what we're voting on, please? Thank you.
Do you want me to? Or you can, or do you want to do it together in unison?
All persons hired by the city other than those stated in 6-102.1 shall be processed through the Human Resources Department, and the Human Resources Director shall evaluate the level of competency of each candidate against standards established prior to the evaluation.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes. Okay, going into Chapter 2, 6-201.1. Is there a motion to adopt this?
So move.
It's been moved. Is there support?
Second.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Passes. Point 2.
So moved.
It's Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 3.
So moved.
Is there support?
Should it be should it be in accordance with state law or just in accord?
In accord.
In accord,
Yeah. Is there support? Is there support?
No, I support.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Point 4. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, passes. Moving into Chapter 3, 6-301 is the only paragraph. Go ahead.
I would
Vice Chair.
suggest that this part 6-301 match our non-discrimination earlier, the same type of language, but match it to the T, but then we have to remove affirmative action. So the city shall take affirmative action for recruitment. It shouldn't say that.
Can you come
We
back
had language
with
for that, too.
some language?
I did start drafting exactly
Okay.
as suggested. I do have to do a little bit of a carve-out because under employment laws, you are able to differentiate on some certain classifications. For example, limited English proficiency can be an issue that, depending on the type of job, you would be able to say, well, we need you to be able to do that here. So just being able to carve out to make sure that we're complying with the law. But yes, the plan is to come back next time with that proposed language.
If everyone will recall, when we were on the road at the Elfrida Schmidt Community Center, there's a gentleman by the name of Tim Poxon from the American Legion was asking that military status, veteran status.
Right.
Get some sort of recognition in here, so can that happen?
Yeah, that's already in the language you already added, so yeah, that will be, not currently in 6-301, but the earlier discrimination provision
Oh.
in prior articles, so that will be covered.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Lopez.
so that language is also found in our human relations ordinance?
Yes.
Because we have a city human relations and community services.
Yes.
Yes, because that original language that you approved, part of the development was looking at your human relations ordinance, so the answer is yes.
Yeah, so that would be all, together and not differentiated.
Okay. Any other questions on that particular section? Okay, moving to Chapter 4, 6-401. This was a provision, I think, that was added through a referendum? Or through a
Yes.
charter amendment?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Back, I think, in 2015. Is there a motion to support?
Second.
Been moved and supported. Are there any questions? Any changes?
Just so should it be that these limitations shall not apply to contracts established prior to January 1st, 2016? Is that when the ordinance was approved?
I think it was approved in
15.
15. I can look real quickly.
Why was that established like that?
If there,
I think they didn't want to abrogate
Oh,
contracts that were already in existence. They
Are-
didn't want to violate contract law.
okay.
are there any contracts that exist prior to, at this point?
I would confidently say there are not employment contracts that,
Could we delete that language then? Deleting the last sentence.
The last sentence?
The last sentence,
I was gonna, yeah, okay, good.
okay.
Do we need to confirm that is there a way to confirm that? I don't want to just approve that and then go,
Chris
oh, shoot.
said he was fairly confident. It would be on Chris.
I think the longest contracts back then were 2 or 3 years. So,
Okay.
I mean,
Why don't we just review that?
and I
right
think
back?
this came up with the departure of a
Yes.
head of an agency.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it was approved November 3rd, 2015 by the voters. And I am confident that there are no contracts
All right.
currently in force that date back to January 1, 2016.
Okay, so there would be a motion to accept this language with the deletion of the last sentence.
So moved.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes. Man, we got an article done. Unbelievable. Okay.
Do a happy dance?
Yeah. All right. Just so everybody knows, we're trying to get some folks from finance and taxation here in the city to meet with us next week. We've got Article 7 now, which deals with taxation and finance. And the way I look at this article, it's pretty much a process article, how it is we do certain things. And I think it would be, if we could get someone that works in this area that could be here and we could go down each one of these sections and say, are we currently doing it this way? Has this been changed? Just so we have, the work that we do will be up to date and consistent with how we're doing business. That said, if you want to go through the article tonight, I mean, we can do that and then go back, or how do you want to do it? Wait? Okay.
Finance and
Exactly,
taxes.
exactly. I'm sorry, Jasmine, or Commissioner Anderson?
I'm good with waiting. I do want to mention, we've had quite a few people bring up the ethical investment proposed language. So will we review that next week when we review Article 7? Or,
If there's an interest in doing so.
Okay.
I don't know if there is.
okay. Well,
I mean, I don't know where, if it would go there, or, yeah, it would probably go there. Yeah, I don't think it would go in regulatory. It would go in that section somewhere.
I guess my question with that is, has anyone presented to us what we're actually investing in right now as a city? Did you?
Commissioner Washington.
I think to actually act on that would be incredibly problematic.
Okay.
Because our pension boards are where all of our investments are. And so we would have to constantly be getting with the fiduciaries and finding out where are the things invested in at this point in time. And although I understand the heart of their request, I think it's incredibly problematic, and I really don't think it's something that should be in the charter.
Commissioner Anderson.
I do think that the retirement investment piece is really complex and more complex than I'm capable of dissecting. But I do think that there's some validity in the procurement aspect. And I believe, and I would have to look at it again, but there's language in there about supporting our businesses first in Lansing locally. So I think that there are some other language and priorities in there that we could implement without getting into the retirement investment piece.
Again, if anybody has any language that they would like to present, if you could get it to us.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're doing it every week.
I mean, they sent the language
They did send
over.
some.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
if
yeah.
you're going to go through and pick through it. And
Okay.
these are certain provisions that you want
Right.
to consider, please send them on.
Okay.
Has anyone talked to either, does anyone know, if either the mayor or council, have they reviewed this issue, and have they taken a position one way or the other? Councilmember or Commissioner Boyd?
I think at one point, I think we asked the city administration, and we asked you or someone to ask the city administration if they could come down and speak to us about this issue of foreign investment. Because again, I think you're right, we have gotten a lot of letters, there's one in the packet now. I'll be honest, it's not something that I think this board or this commission should be dealing with. I think, as a retiree, I want independent people making a decision on how my money should be invested, and I think the same holds true for the city. So unless someone can give me a good reason why we should do that, I would not be supportive of it.
Okay. Bring the language. Okay. Commissioner Washington.
And I'm just going to put this out there too. What some people don't want us to invest in maybe isn't a priority with other people. I just think it's something that could get really ugly. And, I understand we all have our pet projects and our social justice issues, but not everybody has the same ones. And I just sometimes think it could be really bad, and I'm not comfortable with this commission dealing with it in the charter.
Commissioner Lopez.
At one point in time, City Council, I think, passed a resolution when there was an issue with some countries in Africa about investing in like blood diamond issues like that. So council can, on and off, take certain actions to stop certain investments that are not deemed, appropriate, whether it be child labor law, blood diamonds, or other issues.
And Commissioner Lopez, I would just agree with that it should be case by case and it should be done through ordinance.
Yeah, but I guess the only thing that I could say is that when people are appointed to that board, that they have some sort of expectations that they would look at those issues, I mean, they can discuss it, and then make a decision. But I don't know if the city would be able to make a statement, about investing. That doesn't, and I think that ordinance is still alive, right? So that would be something that could be reviewed, and maybe, I don't know if it's a place in the charter, but it's there and should be adhered to at this point in time.
Sorry. Commissioner Boyd.
I think you raise a good point, and it leads me to a question. How are the people appointed to the investment boards now? Is that something that's handled internally by the finance department?
It goes
The
through the
mayor
same-
does it?
It goes through the same process as all other appointees go through.
Okay, because I don't think that I've seen it. Have I seen it in our packet at all, or in the charter? I don't think so. Is it called the retirement board? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a police and fire retirement board, and then there's, general. Yeah, yes, Commissioner Washington.
Commissioner Boyd, what they have on there is they actually have retirees. They have city retirees actually sitting on that board.
Uh-huh.
And then they have a council member sitting on the board, and police and fire is separate from city employee. So they have a council member that sits on police and fire and a council member that sits on
As an ex
the
officio.
center. No, they vote.
Oh, they
But the
vote.
mayor is also part of it, or his designee that he sends of both boards. And then there is union representation on both boards. There are retirees appointed to both boards. And then you have the attorneys and the investment companies that are there, but they don't have a vote, of course.
And is that spelled out in our charter?
No, it just mentions.
I believe that's by ordinance.
By ordinance.
I'm bringing it up right now. So they are created by, looks like by ordinance, Chapter 292 of the Code of Ordinances for the Employees Retirement System. The treasurer, a member of City Council, the mayor, the Human Resources Director. There are 3 elected members, and those are elected by employee groups. Lansing resident non-retiree and a citizen retiree.
Thank you.
And the police and fire retirement board is similar.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, question for attorney. Has there been other charters that have a retirement system board or something like that? Have you seen any?
I don't, I'd have to look that up. I can look that up if you'd like.
Just to compare? Anybody thinks it should be on the charter, on this charter?
No.
No? Okay. Well, if that's the case, we don't worry about it.
Right.
Let it ride with the ordinances that exist.
So you're saying by You're saying by ordinance, this could be included, city council could do this?
Well, and there may be an existing ordinance. I think we have to,
And I believe that this is ropes in the collective bargaining agreement, since
Oh,
they're
okay.
elected members who are represented, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sure there's some collective bargaining.
Is that bargaining, is that bargain in the contracts? No? Yes?
No, it is.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay.
all right. We will revisit this next week. Okay. A couple of other things. We, as you know, last week, we had the Police and Fire Board in, and they spoke to us. They were supposed to get us some language if they wanted to make certain changes. We've not received any. We still have Article 5, the two sections in there that we can review tonight, if you want to do that. There's also two sections in Article 4 that deal with the Fire and Police Board. We don't have that language in front of us tonight, but we do have some time if you want to go through Article 5. We do have the language for the Police and Fire Board.
No, they're, I was just informed that they will be sending something, their chair for the police board.
Oh, when were they going to do that?
They just asked me for my address, so, email address. so
Okay.
I may have to take.
All right. All right, we'll take that up next week. Commissioner Anderson.
Speaking of boards again, we had previously talked about possibly adding the sustainability board after we had the presentation from the city employee who works for the sustainability.
Right, we're going to get some
Division.
language for that.
Okay.
We'll bring that next week.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. We're also trying to deal with the transparency officer issue.
Yeah,
We're still working on that. We'll get that, something up. for that.
thank you. I was gonna bring it up.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. We were looking at putting that in the internal auditor spot. That didn't quite work well during the presentation, so. All right, is there any other business that we have? Okay. Do you feel comfortable in doing Article 8? Do you want to go through Article 8?
Did you say we could go back to Article 4?
We don't, yeah, we just don't have that information. We're going to wait for the Police and Fire Board to bring that up. If you want, we can go through Article 8. That was a little bit down the road, so I hadn't figured out if we wanted to bring anybody in to talk to us. Okay. All right. Okay, so at this time, our business is concluded, so we will go to public comment. Public comment.
Okay, we have Amanda Castillo.
Who is this? Good evening. So, last year, the board was presented with a proposal to be considered for the ethical investment clause, which you all obviously were just discussing. And as I've stated before, I fully support this proposal, and I'm asking the board to genuinely consider implementing the proposal. I do understand that nothing in these policies is cut and dry. There's language changes and things like that that need to be discussed. But as a co-author of said proposal, I, as well as the other authors of this proposal, we're still awaiting an answer to schedule a meeting to go over the proposal in detail. We're just hoping to have an honest civil discussion regarding our proposal for the ethical investment clause, and we hope to work together to build a more ethical, sustainable, equitable, eco-friendly, and loving Lansing. A true community in every sense of the word. And last week, during the discussion of term limits, there were comments that were made that some of you were unsure on term limits being a good idea because it seemed like community members never really seem interested in these positions. A lot of people don't really seem interested in coming to the meetings to be more involved. And here we are, real live community members, asking for that chance to be heard and asking for the board to meet with us. There are people who care. Like, it's why I show up. It's why I take my time to come here because I care, because we care. And we're all waiting for the chance to just work together as equals and as members of this community to improve this beautiful city, not for banks and investors, but for the people, for the environment, and for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Boyd?
So thank you for your comments. So it sounds like there is a group of people, we've received so many letters on this investment issue. And based on the public comments we've just heard, there is a group that would like to discuss this with us. And at this point, people get 3 minutes to come down and talk to us unless we invite someone to come down and make a presentation like Mayor Hollister, or the police board, or the fire board. Do we want to invite a representative of this group to come down and make their case? I mean, I have no problem with hearing what people have to say. I mean, I have my own opinions based on talking to people, but I'm more than willing to hear what people have to say. I don't know what they can say beyond what's been in their letters, but based on what we're just hearing from the public, maybe there is something. I don't know.
Let him
See
come.
if we can fit them in.
And I'm not sure who that person is. I mean, who's the head of that group?
We'll figure it out. Other comments from council members? Councilmember Lopez.
Not having to do with this, but having to do with this stuff that I'm wearing. They're wonderful. So I encourage anyone that comes to city council and has a hearing issue, please wear this device. I was able to hear everybody very clearly, or at least better than before.
Very good.
So I recommend it, and I am glad that the city has this service for folks who may need it. I just want to mention that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other comments? We're adjourned.